Welcome to Out of the Rough. I'm Fred Arnold, and in this show we're going to highlight opportunities and solutions to help get you out of the rough and into success, both personally and professionally. In these tough economic times, I'm going to provide you practical solutions to many of life's challenges. And today I've got Fred Kreger. Fred Kreger is a mortgage professional with American Family Funding. Welcome to the show, Fred.
Thank you, Fred.
Been on the show before, and I want to talk about something specific to your industry because there's been a lot of change in your industry, a lot of change over the last 3 years since we had the mortgage meltdown. Tell me what's going on. The professionalism of the average loan officer or mortgage professionals really changed because we rely on them to help fulfill our dreams of home ownership.
Absolutely, Fred. And one of the things that's really key important to understand is in this day and age, the mortgage loan professional that helps a borrower today is much more educated, much more talented, much more understanding, and flat out just has a lot more understanding throughout the years of history about what are the essential tools in order to get them into a home, get them into an effective home without any type of predatory loan, without anything that's going to damage them personally. Again, looking for the best interest for their client.
Yeah, and that's really important. And now I know there's been quite a bit of change, and I was reading, and I'm very familiar with the SAFE Act. And what did the SAFE Act do that we didn't have before? It was introduced by Dianne Feinstein in the Senate.
Right. So matter of fact is the SAFE Act actually puts a new level of expertise with respect to a loan officer. Not only do you now have to register with a unique identifier number, but you now have to go through what's called continuing education. You must be fully licensed. I must take two tests, one on the federal level, one on the state level. You have to have a background check both on through fingerprinting and also through in terms of actually the physical background check of making sure there's no fraud, et cetera, throughout your history.
You know, that's really important because the way the licensing had been done in the past was a mortgage professional could be in another state, maybe getting in trouble in that state, maybe do some things that weren't quite in the best interest of the consumer, but then go to a different state and conduct business because they didn't talk. But now this is a national registry.
Exactly. And again, it gives another level of professionalism to the mortgage loan originator today.
Tell me about your industry and those that are in the industry, how they can seek a higher level of professionalism through associations.
Exactly. So one of the most important things we want to talk about today is really belonging to a state association, which also goes up to a national organization. The national organization is the National Association of Mortgage Professionals. Here in California that I belong to is the California Association of Mortgage Professionals. And again, looking at it, I think every single mortgage loan originator today needs to look at their association for a number of reasons. One, they get government advocacy. Whether they're a member or not, I hate to tell you, but the associations go to bat for them. They go to bat at Washington, D.C. Here in California, they go to Sacramento.
So let me interrupt you on that,
Sure.
that topic, because on the National Association of Mortgage Brokers, the Association of Mortgage Professional, they go to bat for you, but a lot of times, from what we're seeing in being a professional in the industry myself, is they're just trying to explain to elected officials what makes sense for the consumer. So it's not necessarily, hey, we don't like this law. It's here's how a law or rule is going to negatively affect the consumer and cost the consumer more money down the road.
Exactly. If you look at each mission statement of each association, including on the national side, on the state side, everything has to do with bettering that consumer. And again, we're the advocates for the consumer. We're the boots and heels on the ground that go to bat for them on a day-to-day basis because we see it. When we sit down with Mr. and Mrs. Joe Bauer, on a daily basis, we see the things that they're hurting on. We see the aspects that they can't get into a loan because of X, Y, Z. Mm-hmm. And again, I understand elected officials, want to put and do the silver bullet and fix everything. The problem is that the coin phrase, unfortunately, over the last couple of years is unintended consequences, and it's up to us as association members to let those elected officials know and the regulators know of what those unintended consequences are.
I'm going to jump to something a little bit different, and that is so legislative kind of. Lobbying, but in a more positive sense, going to bat for the consumer and figuring out what's best for the consumer on laws that are created. But also, these associations also offer member benefits.
Exactly. I mean, that's the other thing is if you want to look at it as almost like a cooperative. So, in other words, that a lot of these mortgage loan originators are independent people, and so they can't go out and say, okay, I want a health policy, but I'm only one person. Well, this cooperative allows them to say, okay, they need to negotiate because they're affiliated with an association that has 5,000 members, 10,000 members associated with it. Same thing with insurance, business insurance, et cetera. Allows them to be, again, a cooperative allows them to do that as well.
And education. For the consumer out there, because a lot of consumers are going to see this, some tips for the consumer when looking for a loan officer. You want to find someone that belongs to your local association or their local association?
Exactly. So again, if you want to look for someone who subscribes to a code of ethics, that basically is in this for the long haul, it's not in this for the short term, this is their career. This is my career, this is your career. And we want to make sure that the individuals that are helping people are in it for the long haul, that are in it for the best interest. And they can basically contact our associations. They can basically contact NAM, which is the National Association, which is NAM as in Mary, B as in boy.org. Or here at California, believe it or not, it's the campsite.org. So very easy to get a hold of somebody that is locally in your profession and in your town to help you get a loan.
Real quickly, for those, the two websites, NAM.org, and the one for California?
Is the campsite.org.
Campsite.
The campsite.org.
Campsite.org. Excellent. And make sure, of course, that you're licensed with the National NMLS, National, say that for me.
NMLS, the National Licensing Mortgage.
So easy for us to say, right?
Exactly.
NMLS. Great, we're going to jump to a quick break, but when we come back, we've got a great guest with Visiting Angels. You've been watching Out of the Rough on SCV TV.